You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Folks, listen up. US Cellular wants to help everyone get the gift of connection this holiday season. Already a customer? This applies to you too, because right now, new and current customers can get any phone, and I mean any phone, for free. Yes, free. Sounds like it's time to make the switch. Spread the holiday cheer far and wide this season with a new phone. Everyone can get the gift of connection at US Cellular. Get any phone free today. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com for details.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings,
Why are you listening to this show?
the podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
Juju, please put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Are you surprised that a ticket for running a red light is $158? We continue to have technical issues with David Sampson, but now we've got the reverse of the other issues that we've had. We can't get rid of his sound. He is just wandering around the premises here, talking into a microphone, and we can't eliminate it. So while you're here, David, I suppose I will just ask you, where are we with the merch store? How is it doing during the holidays? LeBatardAF.com is where people can get the stuff that they can wear out in public and other stuff that isn't clothing. What are you laughing about?
You can wear everything in public. Why would you caveat it that way?
Well, because there are some things that are sexual innuendo with Greg Cody's face on it, and that's just something I would wear around the bedroom.
That's you, but it's up to the person who buys it.
Agreed,
yes.
but I am putting my particular repressed imprint on the merch store and telling you some of that stuff is not to be worn out in public.
I think that everything we have on LeBatardAF.com is to be worn in public. And do you want to know what the most popular item is?
Sure.
There's a shirt out there for a Miami Heat player, and it's a Juan Wick shirt. I don't know if we can get a picture of that.
Yeah, Jaime Jaquez is becoming a star. He's got a Hotels.com commercial now with Jimmy Butler, and people are noticing that he's one of the best rookies in the sport.
I don't know that he can win Rookie of the Year when you've got Mike Holmgren and Victor Tempe-Campa.
Mike Holmgren is a football coach.
Mike Holmgren, if he were dominating basketball,
it'd be weird.
Really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Strong inside.
Different
Amazing.
sport. Yeah.
Good in the low post.
Oh, Chet Holmgren. Yes.
Mike Holmgren. David, while we're here, I do have a quick question about merch
God
and
of
the merch
my
store.
old white.
We talk a lot about NIL around here, name, image, and likeness, and players profiting off of their own name, image, and likeness. And I was hoping to maybe get a couple of Touche Taché shirts for my family. But I believe I have to pay for my own name and face on a shirt to be able to get shirts for my family
Samson,
and our last
Samson,
name. Is that the truth? Or
Samson.
can I get some free shirts of me?
Samson, here's what's funny.
Have known.
Oh, for the love of God.
geez.
Man.
Here's what's funny about this, Samson. I saw the other day that Skipper sent out an email that he thought was holiday generous. saying
Yeah, that's right.
All employees get 40% off of the merchandise. And as I saw that email, I thought to myself, I know our group. They're going to be saying, where's the other 60% off?
Yeah,
We
that's
were all
a true
thinking it.
story, Dan. You actually asked me to do a 100% discount to your employees,
Well.
and there was no chance, toilet pants, that was going to happen.
It's my name and
40%.
my face, David.
But it's not. Without Metalark and Le Batard, you have no name or face.
I don't have a name or face. I don't even have a contract here.
By the way, that's your own problem.
You don't have a name or face with us?
What in the world is that,
What does
David?
that mean?
What are you doing
What are you
here?
talking about? I don't have a name or a face.
When this ends
Let me
up
be
in
very
court, it's gonna be
clear.
so
Without
interesting.
Metalark Media and the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, there is no one who cares about a Touche Taché shirt.
Okay, David. Okay.
This merch store doesn't have
That's insane.
quite the soul that I wish for it to have. When you're
It's soulless.
When you are telling people, it doesn't have a name, a face, or a soul. Like it is a disembodied.
It's got 40% off though.
Disembodied.
What a cotton-headed ninny muggins.
Greed machine.
What?
Go sit in the penalty box, Elf.
It's an Elf reference.
Yeah, I know.
Son of a nutcracker.
I know it's an Elf reference that he's
know that
clearly reading right off his computer.
Oh, man, I'm trying.
He's not being.
It's not coming out naturally.
He's not being sent to the penalty box.
Does anyone
Crazy.
Does anyone
me a free
care
shirt.
about this T-shirt shit besides us? This just feels like us looking into a mirror.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the show has been for 20 years.
That's true.
Navel gazing.
Yeah. That's true.
Sorry.
LebatardAF.com
I learned David birthed Jeremy today.
is where you go. All right, put David Sampson away. I need the distractions to stop here. If you want anything for the holidays, I don't know, actually, now that I've put him away, whether Sampson Sucks 20 as a discount code still gets you 20% off or not.
Yes, it does.
Get out of here. How do you just turn him down? How do you turn him down and get him out of here?
It works when we don't want it to
Never
work.
leaving.
Billy, what is factual about Tommy DeVito and his agent? The marketing part is now eliminated. He's been fired. Is it Sean Stiletto is the name of his agent? The guy who dressed as a leprechaun in all green or an elf at last Sunday's game when they lost 24-6. The guy who is at the middle of the kerfuffle with the New Jersey pizzeria that Stugotz says, hey, man, yesterday's price is not today's price. Whatever it is you agreed to, Tommy DeVito is more famous. What's true about the relationship with the agent?
Well, his name's Sean Stellato, not Stiletto. He wasn't dressed like an elf. He was wearing his Hall of Fame jacket.
He was
and
dressed
wore
like an elf.
No, he was wearing, and he, there was an incident at a pizzeria, and it seems like Tommy made good, and he sat down and he met with the pizzeria owner. He had an agreement, and they got, after Monday Night Football, they wanted to double the price of the appearance fee. And, the owner obviously didn't like that, but he's made good on that. And it seems as though Tommy has since hired someone else to manage the PR, but he still has retained his agent for football things.
I don't know what to do with that if I am Stellato.
You need to dial it back a little. If you're
No, you don't. He's doing his job. I mean, that's what he was doing.
But his job isn't usually to be quite this look at me. Like your agent doesn't get famous off of your fumes because of how he's dressing. Not a lot of other agents are doing it that way. If you're a client, you want your agent to be a little more in the shadows, I think.
he made negative news about him. Like that was based off the way he did it. That was his agent's thing of like, let's double this price. Hey, we got to strike. His agent was you.
Right.
To the pizza place.
I understand
and then
that.
I made him a bunch of bad PR, so he's like, I gotta switch this.
There was never a signed agreement, so that's on the pizza shop for not having a signed agreement with Tommy DeVito and Sean Stellato, okay? That's on them. All this guy is doing for Tommy is what he should be doing for Tommy. Hey, your profile has risen over the last few weeks. I want to get you more money before it goes back down the other way.
But you have to look ahead on these things. How will this look? Yes, it's easy just to under the table be like, hey, I want double the price. But if that makes news, that's a bad look.
You stop being the lovable underdog, Stugotz, when what your agent has now done for you is you're arguing with a mom and pop pizza shop on greed. Like it's not worth whatever you were gonna make in double, you just cost yourself because everything that just happened there where you're being let go is something that looks bad for your client. And your job is to make sure, however it is that you can, that you're not the reason that your client looks bad on anything.
But it also looks bad to get rid of a guy, or at least get rid of some of his responsibilities of a guy who has stood by your side when maybe not a ton of agents would be willing to stand by your side because you're Tommy DeVito.
I don't understand what you're doing there.
I mean, he's Tommy DeVito's agent, okay? And this guy is loyal to Tommy DeVito. And suddenly Tommy DeVito has success and the agent's trying to do what an agent should do. And Tommy DeVito is saying, no, I don't want that. I don't want more money. Get out of my life.
He doesn't want the bad press, Stugotz. You realize that we are talking about a minuscule transaction that has turned into symbolic greed from the newcomer who becomes less of an underdog. And you don't have to agree with it. I understand that you're going to be pro-greed at all turns, but it would appear that Tommy DeVito says no thank you to whatever it is that feels like because he doesn't want to be represented in public looking like he's that greedy that as soon as he gets to fame, he's going to strong arm a local pizzeria. And so he's the one deciding, according to what Billy's telling me here, to eliminating the marketing arm because of what just happened in that instance, which is the agent and Tommy DeVito falling in a pothole, Stugotz. Whatever the negative press is absolutely costing them more in optics than what the doubled appearance fee was going to get them.
We're talking about $10K here. It was originally $10K, and they made it $20K.
And he's signing autographs, right? There was no signed contract. So the agent saying, hey, yesterday it was $10K, now it's $20K for the same exact deal. I'm okay with that if I'm Tommy DeVito.
Pizzeria's got some bread. $10K for an appearance. That's nice.
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
Some dough.
They broke bread. Him and Tommy DeVito and the pizza owner, broke bread, figured it out.
Some dope.
And he did it for free.
How is he still here? How is he still here? Okay, Samson, since you're still here, let's get your opinion on what it is that we're talking about there. Because your distaste for Scott Boras is legendary. There's no one you skewer more than Scott Boras. What is your take on what it is that we're talking about?
Well, it cost Tommy $10,000, but the thing that you have to focus on is Tommy had a marketing guy before. This is not a new thing. We got some bad information out there, but I did some searching because I couldn't believe that DeVito would allow this to happen, this level of greed, because it's penny wise and pound foolish. So he cost himself. He did the appearance for free, and the marketing people were stomped on by this agent who you gave a platform to, who's at 14 and a half minutes and counting. And if DeVito ends up making it, which is unlikely, but if he does, he's going to need new representation.
David, since apparently I don't have a name or face without this platform, I've decided I'm going to start an NIL collective. So we're going to get a GoFundMe going. It'll be on my Twitter. So if everyone wants to go donate to that so that I can afford to buy a shirt with my own name and face on it.
Good luck.
So go to @JeremyTaché on Twitter and you'll find it. I am asking for money because apparently I can't get free T-shirts of my own face.
You should be asking for a contract.
I probably should.
Samson.
I'm not going to get that at this point, though.
.com. Best baseball and best sports business podcast. LebatardAF.com.
Why are you so angry? You sound like you're spitting the promotions at us.
I'm doing reads. That's how we make money.
This is not the holiday spirit. You just erased both the soul of the merch store and the face of Jeremy Taché, who has a job outside of this one.
Yeah, that's right.
And has a face outside of the one that's publicly facing here. Mm-hmm. You've eliminated any of his features.
I would have appreciated just a thank you.
Oh, thank you.
For what?
Thank you. Say thank you, Jeremy.
See you later, Samson. LebatardAF.com. The 20% off code is Samson Sucks and the number 20.
Unwrap the first of many presents this season with holidays on the house from DraftKings Casino. With hundreds of games, prizes, and promos, DraftKings Casino has everything on your list. Right now, new players who play $5 get $100 instantly in casino credits. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Casino app now and sign up with the promo code Radio1 and play $5 to get $100 in casino credits. That's promo code Radio1 only at DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problems. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. One per opted-in new customer. $5 wager required. Max $100 in the casino credit awarded, which requires a one-time playthrough within 7 days. Terms at casino.draftkings.com/holidays on the house. Restrictions apply.
Don Le Batard.
Well, Charlie had this. Charlie, as far as I know, so just Charlie's title in my.
Are you going to say anything?
Stugotz.
How familiar were you at the time with Chewbacca? Like how your upbringing had how much Chewbacca in it?
This is the Don Le Batard show with the Stugotz.
Stugotz, I am sure at this point that many people listening to this are tired of me lamenting whatever, but mostly lamenting that the last couple of years of trying to do it ourselves has been hard. You can hear it in the David Samson audio glitches, and I was just told that Tony is now prepared to do his top 5. But as I listened in cue to Tony not going to the most creative of places here in Mail It In week, where I thought he'd be all over Miami giving us top 5s, instead he just sauntered over to the room next door, which also the audio doesn't work on.
He's 6 feet away from us.
That's correct, but I was told the audio wasn't working and he sounded sort of intergalactic and it was shitty. But this is while all of you are in my ear all the time about how badly you want to go to the Super Bowl. And I've been told that if we go to the Super Bowl, it's one technical person. I'm sorry, every person who goes from a microphone talking standpoint needs 2 technical people with them to go to Las Vegas. Ours is a giant show. All of this seems like it would be really expensive. It's got to be planned. We're planning on the Dolphins being in the Super Bowl, in which case we'd want to be there, but the Dolphins can be the 7 seed in 3 weeks if footballs.
Right, so that's why the T-shirts were $40, huh? Cover the cost? I mean, 2 for 1. Every guy who speaks into a mic needs 2 tech people.
That's not going to be paid for by T-shirts. I think you have Vegas being a lot cheaper than it is, and I've heard whispers about what your expense accounts look like every time that you leave town, how you crush a minibar.
I love a good minibar. I do. I mean, listen, it's hard when it's your own money, but when it's yours, that minibar gets a lot easier to open.
But the problem is it is all our money. It is, because we all own the company. I don't know why
stop doing it then.
I don't know why you behave in the self-destructive fashion of thinking you're not impairing your own value to the company. And it's really confusing to me that you don't understand this part of ownership.
That when I travel, I open that mini bar, the money I'm spending is mine? Is that what you're saying?
You are diminishing the value.
But more of it is yours. I mean,
but
that makes it easier to open the mini bar. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, I've heard you in Vegas is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just generally a bad idea.
Agreed.
That's not going to be anything that's responsible.
Yeah.
But I'm told Tony's sound is not working or is working, so I don't trust it. But we're going to try it anyway. Thank you, Tony, for giving so much thought to your top 5 on a Wednesday and where it would be that you just wandered over to the next room to do it. Do we have any OLI? Give him his music, please.
Hey, Dano, listen, this is very thought out, very precise. I wanted to do this for a very particular reason, because we're getting close to the Super Bowl. We're hoping to go. We want to go. And I want to show you. I was born to be a drive time radio host. So what I want to do here is just kind of do a little crosstalk with you guys and make it seem like the good old days where you would crosstalk with Joe Rose or whoever it was.
Do you want to do it with Billy? He's shaking his head right now and not supporting anything
There's
that's
so much
happening
waste
here.
in this company.
So much waste. I'm actually doing us a favor. The live view that we go out with is very expensive, so I'm actually saving us money. Sorry about that.
I don't think we ever crosstalk with Joe Rose. He was doing mornings, we were doing afternoons. That would have been
But he's
weird.
just talking about
Right.
classic crosstalk. Where
Exactly.
you hand a show
Neil and
over
Hank, yeah.
to the next show. Do you want to do it with Billy? Who do you want to do it with?
I remember you guys doing crosstalk one time with Boog when there was like a hurricane and there was no power. Remember, I was at Tamiami Park waiting in line to get ice, and you guys just did crosstalk with Boog for like 3 hours because no one had power, so no one wanted to go home. So you guys just did like multiple shows together.
Were you working on the show then, or were you just a listener?
I was an ice procurer at the moment, waiting to get ice for my house that had no power. Yeah.
But were you somebody
No,
who
I was a listener at the moment.
Oh, so you weren't employed. This is something that
I was
you remember.
employed, not here though.
You said, I want to make a career of that. I'm listening to crosstalk between Boog, Dan, and Stugotz. That's what I want to do for a livelihood.
I thought it was cool. I also thought it felt very different than whatever this is about to be.
Okay.
What's that supposed to mean?
So this was, were you an FIU student at the time?
Yeah,
or
pause up.
Had you recently graduated?
No.
Would you like to do the crosstalk with Tony, or would you prefer that he do it with us?
I'd prefer that he was out on an island by himself and floated away and we never saw him again. But
It's harsh, man. It's
What a loser.
holiday season.
Wow. Okay.
OLI. Chargers. Ben Johnson. Collision course. Unless it's Bill Belichick. Then it's Bill Belichick and the Chargers. Collision course. That job's right for the taking, Stugotz.
that's not observation.
I have no idea what he's doing.
It is pretty funny that last week there was a report that Belichick, it's already been determined, is going to be fired at the end of the season, and we didn't talk about it. Like, that's a bit strange.
I want to talk about how many teams would fire their head coach to get Bill Belichick. I do.
That's coming up next segment. Number 5.
I want to see how far I can push it out.
All right, let's see. We'll try that next segment. Go ahead, Tony.
Dak is rounding into perfect December form.
That was bad. Watching that one against Buffalo, it's. I feel like we have seen how Detroit gets eliminated, how Dallas gets eliminated, how the Dolphins get eliminated. I think we have seen the games play out where we're like, okay, that's going to look familiar in a month. Go ahead, Tony. Number 4.
Number 4. Dano, you were all over this one a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford quietly having really nice seasons.
It does help, though, when all the other quarterbacks are hurt, and you can just throw Flacco out there and Baker Mayfield, and by comparison, they look great. Why? Because Drew Lock is out there playing again.
Winner, by the way.
He looks good on that drive, Dan.
He did. Really good.
Stafford had a throw where he was backing up, backpedaling, back foot, threw it like 30 yards on a line to an out route of like Tyler Higbee or somebody that he like toe drag swagged out. It was a beautiful throw.
Well,
Stafford still got it.
I don't believe that we have covered well or enough the idea that in a Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford felt comfortable enough with Cooper Kupp as his only receiving option to throw him a no-look pass on a game-winning drive. I've heard for 30 years the story of Joe Montana coming into the huddle and telling his people 90 yards from the game-winning score, hey, look, John Candy is in the stands, and that was Joe Cool being the coolest.
Yep.
Throwing no-look passes on game-winning drives, I believe that by itself should put Stafford in the Hall of Fame. Go ahead, Tony.
Agreed. Number 3. Purdy all but locked up the MVP this weekend, but a heady locker room play from the savvy vet saying it should be CMC who gets the MVP, not himself. That's a heady play from a guy who knows what he's doing.
But he's not a vet.
It's a savvy vet move, though, Dan. That's the point.
It is.
He's playing like he's already played 10 years in the NFL.
Right.
Like he's amazing. I don't know how. I don't know why. Well, I know why. He's got a lot of players around him, but he's playing excellently, and he's saying all the right things, and he's doing all the right things, and it's a heady play. Give it to CMC. I don't want the MVP. I'll have it next year. We'll give it to CMC. He's having an incredible season. We'll do it that way. He earns all the locker room respect right there on that move.
I mean, Tony's right. You lie in that situation.
Yeah.
Purdy knows he wants it, knows he deserves it, but you give it to a teammate. Right? Leadership.
Exactly. Just like Trevor Lawrence walking to the locker room after spraining an ankle. Leadership. Yeah. Don't take the cart. Walk.
Mm-hmm. Why does he have the same numbers as Daniel Jones for his career?
A lot of people have pointed that out. Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones look awfully similar.
Trevor Lawrence, kind of a bum.
No one's. Wow. Are you out?
Kind of a bum.
Are you out?
I'm not out.
That means you're out.
One foot out the door.
That means you're out.
One foot out the door. A bum and say you're not out on them.
You're out on Jackson.
He's got a bum leg. He's got a bum leg.
That's not what you were saying.
Tony, when you reach bum status, you are done with that quarterback.
Yes.
I'm kind of done with Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, well then you're done with Jacksonville and your whole...
I'm not done with Jacksonville. There's still something there, but I'm worried about Trevor Lawrence long term.
There can't be something there.
You can't be out on their quarterback and say there's something there on their team. You've got inconsistent opinions in this crosstalk. You are made for sports radio. Nothing you say is consistent. Number 2.
The Lions are back on track. Dark horse for the NFC.
That sounded like a question mark.
It is a question mark. Lions are back on track. ... Dark horse? Just throwing it out there. Eagles all of a sudden don't look that good. Cowboys don't look that good.
Right.
Some things break the right way all of a sudden.
Who are you betting if Detroit goes to Philadelphia?
Philly big.
Who are you betting if Philly goes to Detroit?
Philly big.
What are you talking about?
But if they don't go to Detroit, all of a sudden Detroit gets, a different path. Has to play, the Bucks or whoever, even though Baker Mayfield looks good.
Okay.
If they end up with San Francisco in an NFC Championship game, I'm going to bet the 49ers. But in the back of my mind, I'm going to be like, look, Jared Goff has made it to one of these before. Brock Purdy hasn't. Remember, he was in there for like 5 minutes, got his arm torn out the socket.
Billy, why is your head in your hand?
I miss Boog, honestly.
Number one.
Don't look now, but no one is circling the wagons better than the Buffalo Bills at the moment. Scary team. Josh Allen.
Terrifying.
James Cook. Defense that was hurt, now getting a little bit healthier. Beating Dallas. Obviously, we know what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're not going to get there. Chris is very upset. I'm upset too. By the way, did you see Kadarius Toney let up a mind-boggling interception last week too?
Yeah, another one went through his hands and ended up being an interception. He's so bad.
Oh, he's so good though. That's the problem. He's such an elite athlete, and he's just making plays that are not good for his team. Anyways, Buffalo Bills, keep an eye out for them.
We got it.
Because they're circling the wagons right now at the right time, boys.
Mikey A. asked a great question on God Bless Football. Is Kadarius Toney a great athlete who's just bad at football?
He has some drops that end up being interceptions. I would be very frustrated with him if I were the Kansas City Chiefs, who are looking for someone to replace Tyreek Hill and Eric Bieniemy, and those receivers are not good enough. But Stugotz, I wanted to ask you something based on the Monday night game. I was surprised this happened to me. I was moved by the relationship between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. The fact that Geno Smith was on the sidelines and very clearly happy in the middle of that noise that Drew Lock was able to do something in his stead. Let's hear some of this sound from the post-game interview where Drew Lock is clearly emotional, but this friendship is real, and it was really cool to see these two share at, under some adversity, to share that they love each other.
Steve Martin was a prop comic.
Me. And that was it.
All right. Excellent. I can't wait to go to the Super Bowl. I'm sure nothing will go wrong.
Peloton is your stage to work out your way. On a bike, on the mat, the great outdoors, at a gym, or even in your home. A Peloton in your house means you make the rules. You exercise when you want, wear what you want, and sing as loud as you want. When you spend your hard-earned money, you don't just buy a Peloton, you open the door for you to do you. Nothing beats the feeling of exercising on your own terms. Enter the Peloton bike, the freedom to move how you want to move. Ride, run, sweat, sing like nobody's watching. Why not bring a Peloton bike plus home for the holidays and work out your way? Focus on you this holiday season. Peloton is your stage to unleash the real you. You want to try a climb, high-intensity interval training, or low-impact ride class? You can. Or hop off the bike and pivot the screen to do a bar class, a strength class, or even a yoga class. You can. Make yourself uncomfortable in the comfort of your own space. For Peloton's December offer, head to onepeloton.com/deals. All access membership separate. Terms apply.
Don Le Batard.
Let's go to 80.
His name is Bo.
Wow. I think Billy typed an 8 instead of a B. Fine.
It's a clear as day, Bo.
All right, $2.
Stugotz.
Number 80. Go ahead. It's Chris Corner on the line. CC, go ahead.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Stugotz, there is so much pressure in-house. Everyone wants to go to Vegas for the Super Bowl. And based on that segment, which, again, I will tell you, Tony was just in a room next door. That should have been as easy a transaction as there is. That's just, that is in football, that is taking the snap from center.
Yeah.
And we cannot execute something very simple easily.
I don't know. Tua's had a hard time this season with that.
I was actually just going to say, we're like Connor Williams, the Dolphins center, even though he's out for the year.
Not a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
We can't snap the ball, but once we do, we're dangerous.
This is what I'm going to say, though. You know what? I overstated it. What we just did, was so 101 that it's simply breaking the huddle. It's not even executing anything with the ball. It's just getting from the huddle to the ball without everyone colliding into each other and the clap being at the wrong time. I don't have faith in us being able to execute something from Las Vegas when you guys are all going to be partying. I'm going to look up and somebody's going to be stumbling in at 5 o'clock in the morning because there's just a general irresponsibility around here.
It sounds like maybe 4 tech guys for everyone on a microphone sounds like the right number. I mean,
the idea that we have to have 2 tech guys for every microphone and everyone here wants to go and be at a microphone, you have confidence. Does anyone here have confidence in our ability to execute that? Because the problem is we have to start planning now, Stugotz. If I want to be there if the Dolphins are in the Super Bowl.
Right.
But what is our confidence level right now in the Dolphins being in the Super Bowl, especially if they have to do road games? Because if you're 10-4, Stugotz, you're supposed to be one of the best teams in the league. I've enjoyed.
Well, they are.
I've enjoyed watching Hard Knocks. Yes, they are, Stugotz. But like Dallas, there's just a whole bunch of people that are pointing at the Dolphins and saying, "Yeah, good, but not good enough to actually win all the games until the end." Like, everyone will acknowledge, yes, the Dolphins are good, but I rarely see these kinds of questions around teams like Dallas and Miami heading into this kind of game late in the season. You don't have these games. Stugotz, you just said possible Super Bowl preview. These questions do not exist in the San Francisco-Baltimore game. They just don't. Dallas, Miami has more questions about are those teams actually good than Baltimore, San Francisco does.
Well, it's funny because Dallas, they were great. They were the best team in the NFL after they beat Philadelphia, went to Buffalo, got blown out. They're no longer the best team in the NFL. That's just the way it works in the NFL. But I think all those teams have question marks.
The only team that doesn't is probably the 49ers.
No, the 49ers do. Like, Brock Purdy needs to do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, but the 49ers are the one consensus that everyone's like, this is a great team. The Ravens, to less of an extent, right? Like, people feel confident in the Ravens, but there's also the whole, like, but do it in the playoffs because we haven't really seen it in the playoffs yet. And then, like, everyone else, like, there's then that other tier that you can argue, which is the Eagles and the Cowboys are definitely in that tier. Ask Eagles fans. They think their team's a bunch of frauds. If you ask the Eagles fans, they're not confident in the Eagles at all.
Dolphins are in that tier.
The Dolphins may be in that tier or maybe right underneath that tier. But, like, the Cowboys, Dolphins, and Eagles right now are kind of all in that same question mark thing. And here's the thing. You said that this weekend's game between the Cowboys and the Dolphins is a potential Super Bowl preview. I think that whoever wins that game will still get the question mark, like, but that other team is kind of fluky. So I don't know. Beat an actual good contender.
Jim Nance said during the broadcast the other day, I could see this team in Vegas. That's all I needed to hear.
The thing that I would say
yes,
to
against
you
the Jets
is different about Baltimore and San Francisco, Stugotz, because I know it's not just the playoffs. It's that Baltimore has 3 losses against teams. They lose in the division. They've got 3 losses against teams that aren't the elite teams in the sport.
They lost to the Colts, Dan.
But even as we talk about the hyperventilation that goes week to week in the analysis, where Dallas can beat Philadelphia and you're like, okay, they're one of the best, and then they go to Buffalo and you're like, what the hell was that? Buffalo, Baltimore, the Chiefs, and the 49ers, nobody drags them. When they lose, it's a surprise. Nobody beats them the way Dallas gets beaten by Buffalo. The way Buffalo beat Miami 48-20 doesn't happen to Buffalo. And so my measurement for these things is, yeah, you might have a bad loss. The Bills lost to the Jets. But do you ever get swamped in a way Dallas did when it went to San Francisco, where you're like, oh, my God, that's exactly how they're going to lose in the playoffs. They're going to go do a road game, and they're just not going to have the horses because they're going to lose by 35 points because that team is clearly better than them. I know Cincinnati did that to San Francisco, but nobody does that to healthy San Francisco.
Right. It's a fair point on Buffalo. It's a fair point on the really elite team.
On the Ravens.
But it's not relevant. But they Buffalo could lose by a touchdown. Like, the Bills lose in the playoffs. It doesn't matter if they lose by a field goal or if they lose by 30.
It's
Once
a loss,
you lose,
right.
you're out.
No, but my point on that is just you don't get hit with fraudy when you're always in the games, when no one ever sees you get swamped by anybody, so they can't make the assessment. Look, what they just did to Dallas, Stugotz, from week to week, they did it because they're like, oh, it's not just that Buffalo beat you. It's they manhandled you. They dragged you. That the best team, Stugotz, when the greatest show on turf lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, that team all year No one could throttle them.
Right.
There was no such thing. If you beat them, you were fortunate to beat them because football happened to them, but not because you could beat them by 3 touchdowns.
No, that's fair. The Bills' worst loss this year is a 6-point loss. So, like, to Dan's point, yeah, they never get blown out. They're also, if the season ended today, a team that's not in the playoffs.
That's right.
That's crazy.
But the Bills game against the Bengals last year in the playoffs wasn't particularly close.
That's true. Yes, and it's why I was stunned by it. But still, yes, you can lose a playoff game one time. I'm just saying in your assessment, everyone is very willing to dismiss people as frauds. Like I saw a lot of people doing it to Philadelphia just because they lost in the most emotional fashion in a Seattle game. I do want to get to the sound, Stugotz, because I don't have an investment in this. I have been making fun of the Seahawks since they had a quarterback competition between Drew Lock and Geno Smith.
Right.
When they started 2 years ago with that as their quarterback competition, I'm like, and that's the end of Pete Carroll, and that's the end of the Seahawks, and that's the end of whatever that dynasty was that they had. It's all over, and Seattle has been better than I've thought they were for 2 years. But what happened at the end of that game where Seattle is going crazy and Drew Lock ends up making the throw at the end, Stugotz, so that it produces this post-game interview that was exceptional with Lisa Salters, because you rarely see the quarterback almost break down like this.
And so what did it feel like to orchestrate this game-winning drive tonight?
Oh, amazing won't do it justice. Amazing won't do it justice, but amazing also doesn't do justice what the O-line, what DK did on that catch, what the receivers did, what Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet did all game long, the tight ends, man. It takes a special group to rally around a guy that it's come into his second game of the year, right? Used to the same thing all year long, same cadence, same spin of the ball, everything. For a team like that, not just the offense, the defense to rally around me tonight, man, that was amazing.
I hear some emotion in your voice.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I'm just blessed. Blessed with a great group of guys, a great city, great coaching staff. It's awesome. It's a wow.
You hear all the time, Stugotz, that Aaron Rodgers is a bad guy because he's not mentoring his replacement. The thing that moved me is Seattle wins a game to sort of save its season, its playoff chances against what we believe to be a good team. Seattle is in a frenzy, the emotion of it, after Drew Lock has made a 30-yard throw in the last 30 seconds of the game to win the game. The thing that made me emotional, that surprised me, is that Geno Smith is wearing over his face, in the middle of that noise, he is wearing garb that covers his face to keep him warm. But he is nodding at Drew Lock with what is so obviously pride and happiness for him that I'm like, that's really cool that teammates would be able to share that when Geno Smith is the one who wants to be in that spot. Billy, what are you making faces about?
Geno Smith's not good enough to be happy that his replacement's doing so well.
Yeah, but he got paid, Billy. Geno Smith is 33 years old, and he thought he was going to be a backup forever. He got his opportunity, so he's a journeyman quarterback.
Yeah.
So I imagine he's happy for anyone in that situation, even his own teammate. Why, you think Geno's running the risk of losing his job?
Football contracts are funny, and money disappears all the time.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Right. If I'm Geno, I'm not super duper happy.
I'm confused what the emotion is, though. Like, this is just a backup playing for a starter. Like, I don't hear Eichenberg getting emotional for the Dolphins when he fills in for Connor Williams at center. Like, I don't see the emotion in this. Like, this is just a guy. He got an opportunity. This guy wants Geno Smith to get hurt.
Now I realize why Billy never applauds me or never gives me any flowers when I do a good top 5. When I do anything good, Billy's never there to help me. He's not Geno Smith.
This would be like if I walked out after a show where I'm filling in for Mike Ryan and I started weeping out there. It's just, you guys all helped me.
It won't be today's show.
Dan, can we put that on the poll, please? Is Drew Lock rooting for Geno Smith to get hurt?
No, I feel bad I even said it. We don't have to put that one on the poll.
But this is really cool. Like, this is a guy who thought when he first came into the league that he was going to get a chance to be a starter. then felt like maybe he missed his opportunity, was going to be Chad Henne backing up for the rest of his life. And we've seen literally Seattle pay a Matt Flynn, who had one great game as a backup, just based off the projections. So now this is a ton of money that might eventually come into Drew Lock and his family. By the way, married to Lewis's second cousin. So a lot of money for Lewis.
Wow.
Drew Lock word association will always just be the young Jeezy gif on the sideline of him rapping.
But to Billy's point, I guess, you want Gino to act like Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow is not cheering on Jake Browning at all.
Joe Burrow's been super good to Jake Browning. He gave him his suite 2 weeks in a row for his family.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Here is why Billy is wrong about his assessment of Geno Smith and Drew Lock. That's no fun. That's not how we do it in this business. Wait and see is David Sampson's.
If Geno Smith gets released, you're all going to look at me like,
Well, this is where though Geno Smith can be happy behind the garb he was wearing over his face. He knows Drew Lock's not any good. We all do.
He's just had a moment.
We all do. We've seen enough there. Geno is not threatened in any meaningful way.
We thought that about Geno Smith in his defense.
Yes, but I've seen Drew Lock play for that team, and he doesn't look like Geno Smith.
You just went from the cool parts of the emotions to shitting on Drew Lock within, 3 minutes?
That's right. That's what I did. That's correct.
Way to go, Billy.
That is exactly what happened. And I'm telling you, it's a lot easier to love Drew Lock when you don't have to worry about him actually taking your job.
This would be like Jeremy weeping after filling in for Kelly Sacco on the Heat sideline.
I would.
Guys, thank you. I get an opportunity.
It's a great point.
Weird.
No, but it's a great point. I cannot believe that Billy turned you that quickly, Dan. Billy, of all people.
Well, because he's sitting here saying that he's right. Generally, the jobs are pretty interchangeable in that sport, except when Drew Lock wants yours. He's not going to get it.
I can't weep if I don't have a name or a face.